Salute. Welcome back to Dunebug Speaks. Listen a little bit Curtis Mayfield right now. Name of the song is called Little Child Running Wild. Listen to it. Running wild. Let me be, let me be, let me be. Man, when I listen to that song, I hear so many or have so many different thoughts about my life as a child. Part of this video is about quite a few people have been asking me for a while now, how did I get the nickname Dunebug? Or why do I call my YouTube channel Dunebug Speaks? Short story. When I was in my mother's womb, she liked them Dunebuggy cars. And she said I was moving too fast. I just wouldn't just lay down and relax and, move slowly. She said I constantly was moving so much. And she liked them Dunebuggy cars and they fast. So that's how I got the nickname Dunebug, from a Dunebuggy car. I was called that before I even came out of her womb. So I was a Dunebug while I was still in her womb. So that's how I got that. And another reason why I named this page Dunebug Speaks, because when I was running wild on those streets, most people only knew me by my nickname. Some, of course, knew me by my first name, which is David, of course. But they knew my nickname, for whatever reasons, or, what they heard or what they seen I did or whatever. So now let me give you a little backstory. Some know, some don't know. So this is for those that don't know. When I was 6.5 years old, my father and family members and friends went to this park in Maryland, to this lake in Montgomery County. Have a little picnic, cookout and stuff like that. My father had his boxing gloves. That's one of the things he used to do, is box with his friends, spar with his friends and stuff like that. So at this event, or at this picnic, my father and his friend was sparring. So summertime and stuff like that, people, they got hot. So now they wanted to go and swim in this lake. And I walked over there with them. I'm 6.5 years old, so I'm 2 weeks away from turning 7 years old. So I'm following my father. So I followed my father over to the lake. I clearly remember seeing a sign that said no swimming, fishing only, stuff like that. People's all around the lake and stuff like that. It was a nice day, beautiful day. So my father and his friend jumped in the water. So when they jumped in the water, they swimming, they doing tricks, backstrokes, going underneath the water, coming back up, and stuff like that. So at one point, I'm right there, I'm at the edge. I never got in the water, but I'm at the edge, and I'm clapping, happy, laughing, because my father spitting the water out of his mouth and stuff like that. So his friends said, "Hey David," because named after my father. "Hey David, let's swim from one side of the river or lake to the other side." So it was a challenge or whatever. So my father said, "Okay." So now, mind you, they're in the water at the time, so they're like in the middle of the lake. So his friend swam from the middle to the other side of the lake and sat up on a ledge. So I'm watching all this stuff going on. So my father began to swim to the side where he was at. But before he got midway or halfway, he stopped. My father just stopped. So when he stopped, now mind you, I'm 6.5 years old, and I'm still thinking my father's doing tricks, because I was, like I said, I was clapping, laughing and stuff like that. So once he stopped, he went down in the water. Now when he went down in the water, I'm thinking, he doing the trick or whatever. He's playing or joking around. So when he popped back up, he had his hand up like this, but it was extended. So I saw his 5 fingers. He went down again, popped back up. He had 4 fingers. Now, I'm 6, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know distress signals or signs or whatever at that time. So by the time he got to the 3rd finger and he popped back up, so now he got 3 now. I looked back because I hear people screaming. I looked back, turned around, and I see people running towards the lake. They running and screaming and stuff like that. They telling his friend to jump in the water. It was a lot of adults around telling his friend, because he was the closest one, and he was the only one in the water at the time, to jump in the water. So, but his friend was still sitting there on the ledge at the time. So my father popped back up. He went from 5, 4, 3. Then he popped back. He had 2 fingers, and then he popped up and had 1 finger. And then when he went down again, he just went all the way down after the 1 finger showing, holding up. So at this point, his friend jumped in the water. Went underneath the water. They would tell him, "Go in there and see what you can see, David. See David. See David." And his friend came back up screaming, crying, "I don't see David." They would tell him, "Go back down there again. Go back down again." Now, mind you, the distance where the picnic table is from the lake, it was a distance. So while all this going on, within seconds, they still running over to the lake. Family and friend, they still run over to the lake. So his friend went down again. He came back up screaming. He was hitting the water, splashing the water. "I don't see David. I don't see David." They found my father 4 hours later at the bottom of the lake. So it was a lot going on. Family, friends threatened his friend. It's a story behind that. Threatened him. And when we went to the waiting funeral, his friend had DC police, like chaperoning him, like guarding him, because he received death threats. 2 weeks after we buried my father, somebody ended up, killing his friend. And from that point on, my mother, now she had 4 children. She got 2 boys and 2 girls, a single woman. So now we move from apartment to apartment, to place, house to house, staying over this person's house, staying over that person's house. So while going through all of this, father passing right in front of my eyes, um, no place to stay, and my mother, she did everything in her power to make sure we had a roof over our head, at least for that night. And it was tough. And that's the beginning of me as Dunebug start running the streets or start looking towards the streets to get or try to get out of that tough situation. And over the years, my mother had, met a few different men that she dealt with. One of them in particular, I was about 9 years old, and he's hit my mother. Like, hit my mother. And I couldn't wait to get older so I can do something to him, but eventually, the men, checked him. He ran up out of there. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't had to worry about him any longer. And my, or I rather, I looked up to those on the streets. I looked up to those that had money, street credibility, the whole nine. So I said, okay, that's my way out. That was my thinking at the time. That was my way out of the hell that I was in, as far as not having everything under the sun, or not having just the basic stuff. But when mother did her best, I always salute my mother for that. She always did her best. But just to give you a little idea, it's more to it, twists and turns and stuff like that. As time go on, that I would say and stuff like that. But I just, being a youth, then a young teenager and running them streets, man, and causing chaos and havoc and not caring, So that's why I can relate to the youth. I can relate to them, and I don't make no excuses for them, nor do I make any excuses for myself. But I can relate to them. I understand them. I understand when they angry. I understand when they feel as though people don't listen to them. I understand when they tired of. Listen, I meet a lot of youth, and a lot of youth with people like, where their parents at? Some of their parents are on drugs. Not all. See, when I say things, I need people to really listen to what I'm saying. I don't blanket everybody as a whole. There's a whole lot of good youngers out here that's not doing none of that. Doing everything they supposed to do. And that's a beautiful thing. We always supposed to salute that. But I'm talking about the youngers that don't have that. Or don't have that thought of, okay, or want to get better, or it's trauma and it's pain. And when you feel nobody feels though nobody's in your corner, and you feel as though you gotta go out here and survive by any means necessary, that's what they're gonna do. I would never give up on the youth. I'm always gonna try to save it. So I'm always gonna tell them, listen, I've been through the juvenile system, I've been through the adult system, and I've seen everything on the streets, I've seen everything in prison. Ain't none of it's good. None of it. And I'm trying to show them, because they seeing videos, dudes with their cell phones in prison. They showing, I got all these candy bars, and I got all these soups, and I got all these chips, and I got all this. everything they glorify, even behind bars, that, oh yeah, I'm still hustling. But even within that, what they showing you is high blood pressure. What they showing you is heart attack. What they showing you is high cholesterol. What they showing you is 100% pure ignorance. You want to flex the mentality. You got to think about the mentality of people. Check out Dunebug Speaks, man. Salute.